preview into the prophetic word we're going to get into in this video. And so this video will be a prophetic word from the Lord to Pastor Prophet Manuel Johnson of Mega Praise Ministries. This is the hat that the Lord showed him in a vision to create. So I'm wearing it. I'm enjoying it. I've been blessed. Hopefully you have your Glory Day hat as well. Well, as you can see, I'm a little bit further from the camera today. No real reason. I can come up close, but you may notice something very interesting here. Well, this is what I mentioned earlier, that I would do what I can to get a mic that would be a better quality for you all and for myself. So this just came in today and I am using it now. So let me know how the sound is. If the sound is great, just hit the like and then tell me the sound is great or whatnot. What's also pretty cool is that I can clip this on, but actually right now I'm using the magnet. So it's two ways that I can put it on. So if I have a collar or a dress shirt or a jacket, I can put it, I can even put it up top here. I've seen some people do that. Or I can have it as a magnet as I do now, which I think is pretty handy. So this was a great deal. I bless the Lord for that. And I hope that this can be a better listening experience for you all, because you all matter. Amen. Okay, this prophetic word that we're going to read is dated January 27th, 2025. So we're starting to catch up because today is February 17th. All right, we're catching up to the prophetic words. Some of the videos, I had 2 prophetic words for you. This one's pretty long, so we're going to do just this one in this video. Of course, before I get started, friendly reminder to all of you, in case you were not aware, I did convert my free Telegram channel, and I created a new one, not converted. I created a new Telegram channel, which is membership only. It is $7 per month or 25 cents per day for you to get what? My Telegram administrator and I will forward you short prophetic words that God is releasing through many well-known prophets: Wanda Alger, Elijah Streams, Tomi Arayomi, Manuel Johnson, Donna Rigney, Diana Larkin. And so what's the benefit? Well, the benefit is simple. You may not have the time to scour the internet every day and find out what's God doing, what's God saying. And so we consolidate things for you. And through that paid Telegram channel, we send you that so that you have it at your fingertips. You can skim through. You can read the title of the videos. You can see what is it that jumps out to you. If you have time, praise the Lord, you can watch them all. And if you don't, at least you have it there at your fingertips. All right. On top of that, we'll send you scriptures. We'll send you beautiful AI art with scripture, beautiful videos that display the splendor of the majesty of God through nature, through animals. And on top of that, of course, I will let you know every time I upload a video. I will share with you on there insight, revelation, prophetic words, things I'm sensing in spirit. I can more easily send it to you through the Telegram channel than I can here on the YouTube videos. And of course, when I'm here, I talk a lot about a lot of things. First, the prophetic words, then the Holy Spirit flows through teaching, which is wonderful and great for those of you who are mature and understand and value growing in Christ. You honor that. But many times the Lord will have me say something about crypto, and I try to do my best, but you know what? I just can't fit it all. And sometimes the video will get a little bit long, and I understand your time is important. Of course, you can always change the speed on the channel, so don't use that against me. That's in your control. But that Telegram channel, the Lord had me do this so that it would be an all-around blessing and that people will begin to value. All right. Just like when you go to the university or you want to learn something, you're going to invest, because you value it and it's going to help you to grow. Okay. Even things in the spirit can be the same. Just as you tithe where the Lord leads you to tithe, just as you give, just as you do first fruits, I obey the very same things I'm telling you. And yes, I myself even invest into spiritual things, learning from others. And so something like $7 a month should be easy, but it's no pressure. All right. Now I still have the free Telegram channel open, and I have that open as of now. I'm not sending new content though. That's the difference. I have it open because I need to ensure that all of you who have paid for the new Telegram channel, that you have actually joined the new Telegram channel. I'm showing a handful. I'm not exactly sure of the number, but it's somewhere around 3 to 6 people you have paid to join the new channel, but you haven't actually accessed it, which means you're paying for nothing, and I don't want that for you. So if you're hearing me and you say, hey Brian, I haven't gained access to the channel, I need you to leave me a comment down below, all right, and let me know what your Telegram name is, or your Telegram handle. Even better, if you're still on the free chat, on the free Telegram channel, send me a message. Just reply to any of the posts recently. And by post, I mean reminders, right? Because we're not sending new posts on there. But I, myself, am sending reminders to people, hey, let me know if you have not gained access, because I will help walk you through it. I have had to become customer support. I've had to kind of